was demonized from literally the day he was arrested. The chief law enforcement officer makes a statement to the police that this is a man who's living his name, C. Murder. He's living his lyrics.
You don't want to mess with this hot boy.
What is good, YouTube world? It's Coffee back at it with an update, a major news update out of the hip hop world that I know a lot of fans have been waiting on. As when it comes to the court process, appeals and things of that nature, it can be a very, very long, drawn out process, as this is new news here. But, we're talking about C. Murder. This case dates all the way back to the early 2000s. And we're going to kind of go over the history of the case a bit in this video. But as for this latest update, as this went all the way to a federal appeals court, ultimately, this was not the news, this update that we have, that C. Murder, his fans, his loved ones, his family were looking for, as this federal judge shot down his appeal. As if you've been following this case, there was all kinds of questionable stuff. It's a very tragic story. C. Murder's always maintained that he's innocent. It's such a messed up situation. A fan who was basically a kid was killed at a show, and witnesses that ID'd C. Murder, two of them later recanted their stories and their testimony, and said things like they were pressured by police. And when it came to the trials, as he was convicted on two separate occasions, at one point in time he was actually home free for an extended period of time. Master P, was doing everything he could with hiring a legal team and everything like that, but then he was reconvicted back in 2009 and sent back to prison. And there was a lot of stuff with the jury too, where jurors were deadlocked at one point in time. Some jurors have came out and spoke out about being pressured to convict them. It's just a crazy, crazy story. And then the fact that in Louisiana, I don't think that it's still this way, which is messed up for anyone who was convicted the way C. Murder was, where it was like a 10-2 guilty verdict, where I think pretty much every other state it's got to be unanimous 12 jurors to convict you, to send you away for a homicide. Louisiana had some different rules. I think that has changed, but leading up all the way to here where we are now, the judge said, these witnesses that are recanting were not reliable and were suspect, and that C. Murder and his team burden to prove his innocence was on them, and that just they failed to do it with this latest appeal. And I don't know, man, it's wild. Comment and let me know if you've been following this case, your thoughts on this. I think I'm going to do a separate video or a live stream where we go directly over the court ruling. It's a long ruling, you know what I mean? We're just highlighting some stuff in this video. Tap in and let me know if you want to, see the whole court paperwork and really dive into it all. But there still is hope for C. Murder, as they're appealing to a higher court. But like I said, this is a long process, man. I mean, convicted in the early 2000s, then the appeal, was home for some time, convicted again in 2009. Here we are all the way in 2023. I mean, a lot of time has passed. Who knows how long it'll take to go to an even higher court. But I'm sure a lot of y'all might remember a few years back when the pardons were going on and the sickness was going on. There was a lot of talk with C. Murder's name was trending again, where Kim Kardashian, who had worked to get a lot of people out of prison, started tweeting about the case, and it left a lot of people to get very optimistic. Now, I never really saw any updates if Kim Kardashian really got hands-on with the case and devoted all her resources or not. I mean, she could have busted her ass and did everything she could do, or not. I don't know. Just because we don't always see news updates about stuff doesn't mean it's not happening. But it's good to get publicity on this kind of stuff, man. As when it comes to the legal system, the prison system, and things of that nature, there's a lot of corruption or a lot of things that just ain't right very often, you know, and all over the place, but specifically in Louisiana. And there's been some funny style stuff with this case. So all the publicity is good publicity. You know what I mean? Right around the same time that Kim K was talking about the case, Monica, who was dating C Murder, I don't know if she still is, she was talking about the case. Boosie, all those pardons happened with Trump. Boosie was, you know, pleading for Trump to do something, but this isn't a federal case, right? This is a state case, you know, so he couldn't pardon him. But let's take a look back at that time that I'm talking about a couple of years ago.
Corey has lost half of his life. It's gone. He can't get that back.
Family and friends of Corey Miller say they are holding on to hope that the New Orleans native and rapper will be home soon.
We're hoping that he remains strong, prayerful, and that lawmakers and decision makers take a fresh look at their concerns.
Miller, better known as C Murder, is now serving life in prison without parole for the 2002 killing of Steve Thomas at a Harvey nightclub. In 2009, a jury voted 10-2 to convict him, but Miller maintains his innocence. Two witnesses whose testimonies ultimately led to his conviction recanted their statements and said Miller did not pull the trigger. So now he continues to fight to prove his innocence by going on a hunger strike.
We are monitoring to see if there are any civil rights violations as it relates to his arrest and prosecution.
Louisiana's own Ronald Haley, as well as national civil rights attorney Benjamin Crump, are now part of Miller's legal team.
What we're hoping is just the collective of these things, those documents, the witnesses, that we would just get Corey a new trial. I mean, that's what we want. At the end of the day, we want his name to be vindicated.
And while looking into his case, Haley also said they're fighting for better COVID conditions inside a Lane Hunt Correctional Facility. That's where he's housed. That's also part of Miller's hunger strike. Miller has a few concerns, his attorney says, including claims that the Department of Corrections, along with the warden, are not enforcing the mask mandate or requiring employees to get vaccinated.
Corey could get sick. Any of these other individuals that are in Hunts can get sick, and the consequences, as we see in COVID worldwide, could be tragic, could be devastating, could be deadly.
Haley commends Miller for his hunger strike, saying he's brave. He also says his legal team is working diligently for his case.
All hands are on deck here to right what I think is a terrible wrong.
It's wild. That's just a couple years ago, but it feels so long ago. You see, there was this news coverage. A lot of people thinking C Murder could overturn this case. He was on a hunger strike, aside from the court battle at the prison. You know, he didn't feel like he was being treated right, and we've seen that in a lot of prisons, man. Protocols not being met and stuff like that. There was a lot of people that got to come home free during the sickness, if y'all remember, you know, or come home early and different things like that. But when it comes to C Murder, man, Louisiana homicide case, this young fan being killed, nothing like that was going to happen during the sickness, you know what I mean? And something I just want to point out that I always like to point out whenever this case is brought up and we're reporting on it, there's a screenshot you'll see throughout this video of that infamous footage of a shooting that C Murder was involved in a club. And so often that footage gets referenced to this case that he's behind bars on, but that is not the case. There is no footage. And you know, I just wanted to point that out because very early, the intro to this video, you heard that clip that I shared of a legal analyst saying that, you know, his name was used against him. And authorities ran with that narrative that, you know, he was really living his raps and his name. Like, it's kind of a similar thing we see right now with Young Thug fighting this RICO case, you know, and his lyrics being used against him. It's not something we haven't seen before. And this video, some of the with BG, I know y'all done heard of me. I'm C Murder. I done things that y'all ain't never heard of. He actually released this at the point in time where I believe he was at home, because convicted early 2000s, like I said, again in 2009. A brief time Master P had him home during an appeal. I believe that's when he released that song, which I never thought that was a good move. I mean, I know he wants to stay true to his music and, you know, fuck it, this is music, this is art. It shouldn't be used in court, but being the fact that like they used that clip that I played of where the legal analyst was saying his name and the image was used against him. I just never quite understood why he put that project out at that time. Or maybe I'm bugging. Maybe it was after he was convicted again. But either way, I never quite understood why he was releasing music of that content when he dropped that. Maybe I'm tripping. Let me know what you guys think. But let's go back in time to when we were just talking about as well, that second conviction.
Of second-degree murder again. Rapper C. Murder will spend the rest of his life in jail. But will today's controversial verdict be overturned by an appeals court? WDSU News reporter Travers Mackel is live at 10 to tell us why some say yes.
Well, Chris, C. Murder's family and friends say they believe this conviction will be tossed out after they appeal, but one legal analyst says, not so fast. Emotions erupted as rapper C. Murder's family members spilled out of the Jefferson Parish courthouse. A jury found C. Murder, whose real name is Corey Miller, guilty of second-degree murder for killing 16-year-old Steve Thomas at a West Bank nightclub in 2002. Miller's family cried foul after the verdict was read. Do you think this will be overturned on appeal?
Oh, absolutely, it'll be overturned on appeal, without a doubt.
The reason? Monday afternoon, jurors told Judge Hans Liljeburg that they were deadlocked. Liljeburg ordered the jurors to continue deliberating. That carried into Tuesday morning. Tuesday morning, the jurors told the judge that a female juror slept during some deliberations and kept quoting the Bible. That juror asked to be removed. Liljeburg denied it. Then the jury reached a guilty verdict, only to have the judge not validate the verdict since one juror was crying, saying she wasn't sure.
Judge Liljeburg sent the jury back, kind of calmed them down, advised them that they should not feel pressured.
3 hours later, the final guilty verdict came in. One legal analyst says the judge's actions will not lead to the conviction being overturned.
Not only was it extra cautious, he did the right thing when the jury allegedly saying that he had some problems with the verdict. So what he did, sent them back to further deliberate. Very experienced judge. He did the right thing. And I don't see it as an issue. Really, I do not.
When the verdict was read, there were about a dozen sheriff's deputies inside the courtroom. Corey Miller didn't say a word as the verdict came down. Chris?
And Miller will be sentenced on Friday. He will spend the rest of his life in jail.
So again, that was the second time he was convicted, and you hear a little more about the case. You see the supporters that he had. There was a reverend that spoke up for him. You saw his family was hysterical in court. They said C. Murder himself really didn't say anything or react like that, kept his composure. But this has just been a long fight going on for C. Murder and the Miller family and Master P. At that point in time, like I was talking about when P briefly got him out, he was doing everything he could with the legal team, but at some point they fell out, and C. Murder had said some things about him. Like, this is all tore the family up. You know, it's a crazy situation. Mac Phipps, another No Limit soldier who came home in a very similar situation where he was convicted in a homicide or attempted homicide. You know, he spoke of the battle that he had in Louisiana with corruption. It's a very similar case. I've done videos on it. Not a similar case, but where guns being used, you know, homicide and stuff like that. Witnesses changing stuff up. In McKinley Phipps' case, there was another individual that confessed to it and everything, and Max still sat behind bars many years, and even after I believe the governor got involved a couple of years ago and ruled for him to come home. I don't think they overturned the case. I think they changed the sentence and gave him time served, commuted the sentence or something like that. Even after that happened, it still took quite some time, you know. But here we are, 2023, all this time later, and again, the latest update. Appeal was shot down by a federal judge, denied, calling the witnesses, recanting their stories. suspect and unreliable, and that C. Murder and his defense team did not present a good enough case. And it's just crazy, man. Like, you heard all that stuff in that second report that we played, talking about the juries and things like that. Like, it's crazy, man. So comment, share your thoughts, stay tuned for updates. Let me know if you're a C. Murder fan. Let me know if you think he'll ever touch down. Hopefully him and Master P make up as well. Like, again, when an individual is behind bars or just going through any kind of serious legal situation, the justice system, just what I'm trying to get at is everyone pays. The families of the person behind bars, the victim's family, the victims. It's a lot of pain and a lot of trauma, and it's only right that the case is true justice takes place. And you know that with this situation, with these witnesses and all that, if they could just get a new trial, one more trial, on a higher level than the Louisiana courts, where we seen a lot of this funny style stuff go down with that jury, where they kept getting sent back. And you know, again, that's a whole nother side of the coin that we really didn't highlight in this video. Jurors have spoke out more about funny style stuff where they felt they were pressured into convicting C. Murder. If they could just get a new trial on a higher appeals court, where these witnesses would take the stand and all the evidence would be laid out once and for all, and a really fair trial would take place, true justice could be served. That's what I'm saying. I think it's only right. And then that whole 10-2 thing being changed now, it just is an obsolete system, I believe. I don't know. So there you have it. Let's talk in the comments. Stay tuned for updates. Once again, there's still another appeal, but this could take years. So we'll see if, once again, like I was talking about with Kim K, many felt very optimistic about that. Did she do everything she could? Because she freed a lot of people. She was plugged in to, you know, the right individuals in the justice system, and I believe her family members were involved in the legal system and attorneys at one point, stuff like that. You know, she's well connected, this we know, but not just her. You heard Ben Crump's name mentioned there. Any other Innocence projects or someone maybe with this new news out could decide to get involved and help C. Murder, maybe speed up the process, but we'll have to wait and see.